Well, hi, and welcome to Father, Son, and Skillet. I'm Alden.
I'm Owen.
And this
is a griddle.
Cast iron griddle and grill pan. Great for marking steaks, great for making grilled cheeses, great for making pancakes.
And that's what we're doing today.
So stick around and we'll celebrate Shrove Tuesday with you. And the big thing for that, of course, is pancakes. You know, all those churches in the Midwest doing pancake suppers on Shrove Tuesday. And Owen's going to show you his recipe. So stick around. Well, Owen is measuring ingredients, and it's a fairly simple recipe. And actually, there's a story behind the recipe that's a lot of fun. When Owen was a little boy, we had a children's book called Sheldon's Lunch. Story about a little snake who liked pancakes for lunch. And he had just finished his lunch, and his mama went off to town to go shopping or something. And his friends came over, and they decided they'd make pancakes too. And one of them said, "This should be sweet." And they filled it full of sugar. And another one said, "This should be fluffy." So they put lots of extra baking powder in it, and so on and so on. And when they slapped it on the griddle, it exploded and messed up the entire kitchen. And so then Mom comes home, she makes them clean it up, and she makes them pancakes the right way. And in the back of the book, there is a recipe. And we've been using that recipe ever since, even though we lost the book somewhere. So these are buttermilk pancakes, and they're pretty simple. So we'll finish setting up, and then we'll come back and start cooking.
So here we have our ingredients. Fairly simple recipe, only 6 ingredients. We've got a cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda.
That is soda.
And that is soda, not powder. We only need the single acting.
No, it's double acting. So, well, no, it's soda.
It's soda. Powder is the one that can be. It's
right.
Can be
now, if you wanted to make these fluffier, you could add a little bit of floof powder, baking powder, to these, but we don't usually.
We don't need to. And that also helps with color. Half a teaspoon of salt. And I like to get those incorporated before I start adding my wet ingredients. 1 egg. I like to get mine pre-beaten. It mixes in a little better. Three tablespoons of oil. And a cup of buttermilk. This is actually just a little bit less, but flour is finicky about how much liquid it will hold. I always start with a little bit too little and add more as we go. So I'm going to keep that at hand. Let's get this mixed together. Be gentle at first, just so you're not throwing things everywhere. And yeah, that clearly needs more liquid. Yeah, clearly. All right. So let's add more, a 1/4 cup at a time. Occasionally you need to knock your whisk out so all that tight, dry flour that got caught up in there will come out. All right, now we are approaching a 1.5 cups. Flour was kind of thirsty today. Now, this is pancake batter. You don't need to get all the lumps out of it.
In fact, if you mix too much, then we get a little tough.
Mm-hmm. Although I found that if you make them too tender, they just dissolve in the syrup. So it's a balancing act. Actually, often one of the best ways I've found to get the consistency right is if you don't quite have enough buttermilk and have to add some regular, i.e. sweet milk.
So now we've got a cup of flour, 2 cups of buttermilk, about.
Well, roughly, yeah.
And we're looking for a consistency a little bit thinner than cake batter.
Yeah, a little bit thinner than cake batter. That's just a little bit short. I'm just going to add this directly. There we go. That's all right.
A couple more tablespoons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much call that 2 cups.
One of those about enough recipes.
Mm-hmm.
You put about this much or use enough to get the way you want it.
There we go. That is the consistency I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to put the whisk out of my way and get a ladle. We've got this nice, simple, serviceable ladle.
It holds about 2 tablespoons, I think. I measured what you usually pour as pancake batter, and it was two ladles full, and that was right at a 1/4 cup of batter.
Mm-hmm.
So that will give our viewers an idea of how much pancake batter you use to get a pancake of a certain size.
Exactly. And probably saw me putting down the measuring cup on this. This is just to keep the counter clean. Your spatula is going to get a little bit of oil running down it and keep you from leaving lines on the counter. And you can also use it to wipe the edges of your bowl if you start to drip. Now, when I'm making pancakes, and I've been doing this for 20 years, since I was about 10, I like to add just a little bit of oil and wipe it on like we do when we're seasoning a pan, that thin coating of oil that you season on with. I like that fresh new oil when I am working with pancakes.
So unlike the bad infomercials of the poor schmuck making pancakes and frying them in a 1/2 inch of butter, we just barely grease the grill. And there's a little oil in the pancake batter.
And there's some oil in the pancake batter. And you don't want to go too heavy on that or your pancake will be greasy.
Or heavy at least.
Or heavy at least. All right. So, like you said, I usually do about 2 ladles full. The second one might be a little thinner. And that sound means we waited about long enough to do this. It took us 10-15 minutes to get all the ingredients together with the griddle warming the entire time. So now we wait.
And we're looking for these bubbles throughout, and particularly close to the edges, where they break and then don't close back up.
And there's already some that are doing that, but we want the middle to be a little more solid.
You want them to a certain point. So we'll let this cook until we see that.
In my experience with a low to medium low griddle like we've got here, that takes 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. Now tell us about your pancake making history, Owen. It's a great story.
Oh, yes. So, like I said, about 20 years since I was 10. Well, 10-year-old me, why would I be the one making pancakes? Well, imagine, if you will, hyped up 10-year-old on Christmas morning and parents who don't want to be up yet. So one year, they said, why don't you go make pancakes? And so I did. And that became the tradition. Every Christmas morning, I get up, I make pancakes, we have breakfast, then we open our presents. By giving me a task to do, I wasn't quite so impatient. Nowadays, it'll get up quite so early, but we still make pancakes Christmas morning, then open the presents.
So how's our pancake looking?
Okay, this is starting to look there. I also sometimes will bend down and look at the edge. It'll start, like a good loaf of bread, it'll start to lift up a little bit on the edges where you can see the brown
Yeah.
a little bit. And it's almost there. As you can see, the bubbling has calmed. There's still bubbles throughout, but you're not seeing them rise and pop anymore.
So we're just about there.
So we're just about there. All right. I think I'm willing to risk this one, and if it doesn't turn out well, that's the curse of the first pancake. Things are never quite perfect, though that one is probably one of the best I've ever done.
Yeah.
So, you can see there's a little bit of a ring in it. That's because the griddle was warm enough that the first pancake started cooking before we added the second ladle of batter. But that's pretty typical. You have to have a very big ladle or some sort of controlled drop to be able to do one that doesn't have that. And I think it looks nice.
Yeah.
So it cooks on the other side for about as long, maybe a little bit less than it did on the first. Which means we can get the second pancake going, and before it's ready to flip, we can pull the first pancake off. All right, so this pancake, if you do it down, you can see it starting to pull up as well, so it's almost ready. So, pancakes take a couple of minutes. You want all of your pancakes to be warm. We've got our oven on its lowest setting, which is 100-degree bread proofing setting. Most ovens, if they don't have that, they go down to about 170. That's a good temperature to just have a plate in there, put your pancakes on it. They'll stay warm as you cook the rest of them. So, I'm confident in my skills, so I'm just going to do this. And there we go. Now, if you're not so confident in your ability to get a pancake stable like that across whatever distance it is to your oven, if you don't have one that's under your stove, then you can absolutely bring the plate to the pancake. But if you're not confident in your skills, don't go to Liberal, Kansas, where they have a pancake race.
On Shrove Tuesday.
So there we go. You can see this second pancake, I didn't wait quite as long. It's not quite as dark. I could have waited a little bit longer, but we didn't have any uncontrolled splatter, so we're good.
So now we just
keep repeating that until we're done. It'll be about a dozen pancakes.
all right. We'll check back in.
So, for those of you who are a little less confident than I am in your pancake flipping skills, you don't have to go straight under it like I did. You can start by getting under it like this, getting most of the edges pulled up, then getting under it and flipping it. That'll guarantee that you get a little bit cleaner flip. And now we're putting on the last pancake. Very often, rather than scooping that one, I just kind of pour. If you do this slowly enough, you can get a really pretty pattern of concentric rings all the way through. And if you do it a little bit faster, you won't get the ring pattern at all. And there we go. That is the last pancake down. This time, we only made 9. And that's probably because I don't actually usually measure when I make pancakes. We have a little sifter scoop in our flour container. And I just scoop that and then add enough buttermilk until the consistency's right. So this recipe makes about 9 pancakes of this size. You can make them a little bigger and have less, a little smaller and have more.
And the recipe is easy to double.
Oh, very easy. So here's our stack of finished pancakes and everything you need to enjoy them. This here is Mrs. Butterdish. Now, one last little cleanup tool. So, griddle, it's been turned off. I also took the paper towel and wiped up any extraneous bits of oil that had gotten pushed around, leaked out of the pancakes and pushed around by the spatula. So we're just letting that cool, nice and clean.
Really didn't even need cleaned up, just wiped off.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Cool. Well, there you have it. Pancakes for Shrove Tuesday as we head into the season of Lent on Father, Son, and Skillet. If you like this video, make sure you click like and also be sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. Not that bell. Not that one either.
The one down below.
The one down below that says get all your notifications. And thanks for watching Father, Son, and Skillet.